Hi, my name is Nina Simone, and you can catch me on the Jesse T Show today. I am a crystal healer. I was initiated into Toltec shamanism and Indian shamanism. I'm an apprentice for plant medicine, and I am a combo facilitator. I received my initiation for that. And I travel the world serving medicine, and in between, I teach people how to step into their best selves as healer. I have an energy healing program. My business is called Crystal Sun Healing, and you can find me at crystalsunhealing.com. That's where I am.
Nina, welcome to the Jesse T Show, sister.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. I think you have a beautiful soul, number one. I think you have an amazing life journey. I think you are healing yourself and those that come in contact with you. You guide them along their own healing journey, which is a very powerful way to show up in this world. And I want to share with the world as much as I can about all things you. So just if you could, tell us how you got here. You have a wild, beautiful, amazing journey. How did you come to be the Nina of 2023?
Oh, man. Okay. So, I've always been exposed to spirituality at a pretty young age. My parents just exposed me to a lot of different things. But then when I was a teenager, I decided I wanted to be normal and get away from all that weird stuff. And then on the night of my 26th birthday, I was struck by lightning in my own bed. What's funny is this is actually the second time I've been struck by lightning. First time I was 8 years old. And the second time it was my birthday present when I was 26 years old. And I knew that was definitely a message from the universe to stop doing what I was doing before and do what I'm supposed to do, fulfill my soul's mission and purpose. And so when I was struck by lightning the second time, what it ended up doing was just opening up all of my spiritual faculties and gifts on superdrive. And I had to integrate that. And it was I could no longer deny the fact that I had psychic abilities. I could see and move energy, and energy was flowing from my hands. And so fast forward a little bit more, I was able to attract my first teacher and learn about cacao, because actually that night I was struck by lightning. I had a dream about the spirit of cacao coming to me, and I was like, whoa, there's more.
Was the dream prior to the lightning, or did the lightning hit and then you had the dream?
The lightning hit and then I had the dream.
Wow. Talk about a download. And can I just real quick, because I've never been struck by lightning, and I'm sure 99.9% of the people listening and watching this haven't, hopefully, and maybe they have and they're a superhuman now. But so what was do you remember the feeling? Was it like, how did it feel? What was the experience like? Do you remember any of that?
So the first time when I was 8 years old, I remember I was standing in the yard, and they were both indirect. So it wasn't like a head on, but I was like, I got it, and it sent me flying across the yard. And it was like someone pushed a giant reset button. I just remember all the hairs on my body were standing up. I saw white. I heard the white noise. It was just like, boop. And then I just wake up, and my brothers and my dad are like, are you okay?
Wow.
Second time, I was scared out of my mind. I was in my bed and I shook like a bug. And I just remember the same white light and the white noise, and all the hair on my body stood up. And I was just like, oh. And I convinced myself actually that I was too old to be scared of thunder and lightning. So I went back to sleep. And then I completely put both instances out of my mind. I completely forgot both of them happened, because I said, no way, people don't just get struck by lightning. I'm just making that up to be cool.
Wow.
And it turns out my brother said, no, this is your second time. And I was like, oh.
Was there pain? Like, did you recall any? I know the noise, the light, the energy, but like, was there any pain or any discomfort at all? Do you remember any of that? Outside of getting knocked across the yard, that might have, like, landing on the ground might have been an issue. But
there wasn't any like particular pain. There was definitely discomfort, because when my parents took me to the hospital and the doctor was like, oh, she just has radiation poisoning. So I felt really nauseated and queasy. And of course, there's nothing they can do for you. They're just like, well,
Good luck.
yeah, you just let it dissipate.
Wow. What part of the world were you in when this happened? Because I know you're all around the world these days.
I was actually in Georgia both times at
How
home.
about that? Where I currently live these days, Georgia. That's interesting. And so what part of Georgia were you in?
First time I was in Decatur. The second time I was like in Alpharetta.
Wow. Okay. So this is obviously something that's meant, your soul chose this curriculum here on earth. What do you feel like you were doing before? You said whatever you were doing before, and then this was like literally a supercharge into what you're doing now. What was it that you think that was out of alignment, and why this happened? Why do you think this happened?
Oh, I mean, I was partying. I was a cosmopolitan. I was what they call a Buckhead Betty, but
oh yeah, a Buckhead Betty for real.
almost. I wasn't that basic, but I was trying to fit in.
Had the car. Usually it's like a Beamer or something.
Yeah,
like
I had a BMW. I was living the high life, and it was just like, well, let's do everything. And you're just like, what are you doing?
Drinking, probably partying, like doing the whole thing, like having fun, chasing whatever it was that maybe wasn't calling to your soul. And so then, what was the switch afterwards when you came to this deep understanding, deep knowing that now it's time to follow the path that I'm supposed to be on? Like, what did that end up looking like immediately after? Was it like, okay, I know what I have to do, I know my superpower, I'm going to chase it? Or was it a progression into all the things that you do today?
It was definitely a progression. See, the funny thing was like, there was a point, especially in my early 20s, where I was very aware that I had maybe some capabilities. And because I wanted to be normal, I was like kind of using my powers not for good.
What were some of these capabilities and powers? Like what was it that you noticed that you had that maybe most people didn't have or were aware of, that you could actually like put into your life wherever you need it, for good or for bad?
Well, like I noticed I was an amazing poker player because I would call everyone's bluff because I could read their minds. And I was very well at that. And it allowed me to win a few tournaments and, do some fun things. And then it's like slowly but surely things started to happen. I went into actually a health crisis where, it's like when you go through one of these death cycles. I woke up in a hospital and I was just like, oh my gosh, what just happened here?
Whoa.
And I remember having a conversation with my guides and my higher self where it was just like, so you want to keep going like this? You want to keep going like this? Or do you want to make some changes? And shortly thereafter, I concocted my new experiment that I called Project Superhuman, where I was like, what would it be like if I got super duper healthy? What could I pull off?
Yeah.
What could I do? And what that actually ended up doing was allowing me to curate my gifts a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I've noticed that too on my journey, where I've gone through cycles of, not being super healthy, whether it's food, drinking, sleep cycles, if it's relationships, if it's self-talk. There's so many things that play into this. If it's energy, if it's all these things, intention, lack of intention, practices, spiritual hygiene. There's so much kind of like, if you think about it, like once you get into a groove, it's like I just took a cold shower before this because it feels good. It makes me healthy and I like get energetic from it. So it's like, there's these things that just happen in your normal routine, but to get to this place of operating with these tools, it does take some time. It's not, I don't know many people that just kind of switch onto it. And I feel like with, being healthy, like recently, like I stopped drinking alcohol, not for any reason. I didn't have a problem with it, but I stopped drinking alcohol Valentine's Day this year. And it was also a download from one of my medicine journeys saying, eat life. And eat life was two-pronged, I think, from what my limited brain could understand. It was enjoy life as much as you can, experiences, people, moments, all these things, be powerfully present, but also eat healthy, like eat life. And when you drink alcohol, it's such a lowering of your brightness. It's such it's a vibrational, it's a poison. And we all know, you and I could talk about this for days on why it's here and what it's doing to people. And once you let go of those things, to come back to your point of being healthy, once you let go of the things that aren't serving you, you really can put yourself in a state to become superhuman.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's just like, I love that you said that alcohol itself, it's not bad. It's a wonderful tool because in plant medicine, we use it to extract the spirit of the plant. And so if you're not extracting something and you're just drinking carelessly, what are you extracting?
Yep.
Your happiness, your vitality. So
yeah, the things that you need to be you, right? And so, as you have stepped into your health and as you started to optimize this manifestation of, being superhuman, and what would that look like? What would that feel like? What were some of the practices that you were working with in that state? And then also, what were the things that you were lovingly letting go as time went on that weren't serving you?
Oh man. That's a loaded question.
Go for it. Get crazy.
It was like a whole reorganization of my life because, growing up, the doctors told me I suffered from a sleeping disorder, which I find to be kind of funny. It was like, and my sleeping disorder was narcolepsy, and I couldn't stay awake. So I make jokes. I'm like, my job is here to help wake up other individuals, but I had to wake up first.
Yeah.
And when I changed my diet completely, the narcolepsy went away, even though the doctors said, oh, there's no cure. You're going to be on drugs for life. So they put me on Adderall, and I had to rehab myself off of Adderall.
A hell of a journey. I know people that used to abuse Adderall, they would snort it and it would, act as like an amphetamine in a sense.
No, it's prescription speed. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. Just like OxyContin. I used to do OxyContin when I was younger, and that's heroin in a pill because I've done heroin too. I know exactly what both feel like, and it's the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just the pharmaceutical grade, the controllable grade, the sellable grade of the heroin, essentially.
It's professional.
Yeah. It's what the government and big pharma can make money on.
Exactly. And so I noticed that after I stepped into these practices, that's when my yoga came to me. I got certified in Tantra yoga, Tantra Hatha yoga.
Nice.
And that propelled my healthy journey practice as well. Allowing me to build inner resilience and strength. And then it was like after that, then I attracted my first teacher, then my next teacher, then my next teacher. They were just coming out of the woodwork. So like, oh, you're ready for us.
When the student's ready, the master will appear, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
It's so true. It's so true. And the one that maybe you didn't even know you needed. Like the one that like they just come out of the blue and it's like, here's what you really need to know versus what you thought you needed to know.
I'll tell you, actually, some of my best teachers were my petty tyrants. And like they gave me pure hell. Mm-hmm. Like I'm talking sleepless nights, growing gray, just what is going on? Yeah. But in retrospect, I can look back and I was like, wow, those situations really forced me. They forced me to be who I am today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's the uncomfort zone, right? When you're in the uncomfort zone, you either force yourself to break through the comfort zone and come out the other side stronger, better, whatever that feels and sounds like, or you regress and you walk away from the uncomfort. So there's really you can't really operate in the uncomfort zone too long. You got to move forward or back. What were some of those teachers like for you? Because I know you have a breadth of experience and tools, and we're both on our path of healing ourselves and guiding other people to do the same in our own ways, and we have different tools in our tool belt, so to speak. What are some of the ones that you initially like? You said cacao came to you in a dream. Did you start using cacao for yourself and others? And let's maybe explain what that is. Some people don't know how to do that. Yeah, what that is. Yeah.
I remember when cacao came to me, I remember after that, I would wake up and I would just hear chocolate, must eat chocolate, must eat chocolate, must eat cacao. Like I was like, is it normal for people to be this obsessed with chocolate? My body was craving it and craving it and craving it and craving it until one day I was standing in the middle of my yoga studio saying, it would be really cool to have a cacao ceremony in this studio. And then I kid you not, a couple days later, this couple from North Carolina messaged me and they're like, we're looking for a space to do a cacao ceremony. Anybody knows of a space? And so I said, we have a space. Why don't you come here?
Beautiful.
And that's when it just continued to start. And then after that, I met the teacher that initiated me into Toltec shamanism, which is more of Mexican. And since my cacao is very Mexican,
Yes.
I was able to really dive and learn about the Mayan calendar and all kinds of things because they're all connected.
Yes.
Mayan astrology, it's all part of this plant. And so it's not a light undertaking. I can say that much.
Let's talk about it too, because I've been called to cacao personally, and have been in spaces of ceremony with it multiple times, and actually with you. And I'm not saying this to fluff your feathers, but absolutely true. It's probably the most beautiful cacao ceremony, yours and one that I had in Tulum with the maestro, that was absolutely out of this world, and it was gorgeous, and it was loving, and it was heart centric, and it was amazing. So I know I've experienced your cacao ceremonies a couple times now, one in a private, more private setting, one in more of a group setting. And it was absolutely powerful. And for me, the cacao has called to my heart. Not my superpower. One of them is my heart, and like everybody's, right? Like your heart is really like where you should operate from. But mine, I've really like learned to curate, cultivate, heal, grow with, understand, let it guide me in most ways. And cacao is a heart opener in a lot of ways. It's a vasodilator from a biological standpoint. It opens up your veins, and it does all sorts of things for your body on a physical level, but on a spiritual level. When people first hear about cacao, they're like, "What, chocolate? Like really?" But when they learn about the seed, and even I've learned things about how it's almost like it has the divine feminine. And the woman in Tulum was talking about how it comes from Venus and all these different things, and it's very powerful. Can you give us the kind of the high level overview of this magical chocolate and how powerful it is?
Well, I mean, the lady from Tulum is spot on. It comes from Venus, and Venus is all things beautiful, love, pleasure, and aesthetics, and so much more. And Venus, she shows us how to open our heart. And a lot of the great teachers bring the teachings of Venus, and those are the teachings of love, a lot of the great avatars. And so we believe that the cacao pod, which kind of looks like a spaceship, was sent down to Earth to help us human beings to remember love.
That's powerful.
And all parts of the pod are usable. Like the pod itself, when it's fresh, actually, the farmers, when they're harvesting it, if they cut themselves, they can scrape the outside, scratch the outside of the oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my English, cascara, the shell, the husk. And it makes like a gel. And they put it on their cuts, and it heals up better than if they had stitches.
Wow.
The inside is incredible. I don't know if you've ever had the cacao fruit.
Mm-mm.
It's incredible. It's like this refreshing, white, pulpy, fruity, juicy juice of awesomeness that hydrates you. And then inside you have the bean.
Yes.
And the bean, of course, has to be dried out, fermented, so you can get the flavor. So if anyone says raw cacao, they're misinformed. It's raw chocolate.
Yeah.
Because like coffee, it has to go through a process. Otherwise, it degrades very quickly. And without that fermentation process, you will not have that lovely chocolate flavor. And I mean, and then you just keep breaking it down, cacao nibs, cacao liquor. And then you put those two together with sugar. You have a chocolate bar. You leave it, the wonderful, delicious pre-Hispanic drink that we know and drink in cacao ceremonies today.
Even I've had it straight from the shell, and just kind of almost like the nut itself, like the nut of cacao. And it's like this like kind of milk chocolate looking, like it's like a lighter brown for the ones that I've seen. But when you eat it, it's very bitter. So if people are experiencing like looking to have like this sweet, like candy bar taste, it's not necessarily there unless you have other things that you add to it. And so, but it's beautiful. It's not overbearingly bitter. It's just a little bit bitter. But it is such a beautiful experience. I've had some almost like plant medicine like journeys with cacao, like in terms of the intense kind of like vibrancy, the energy, emotional release. Like it was wild. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Holding a great container, having a great ceremony, having a great maestro. Like there's a lot of things to it, that where you are in your journey, where you are in the moment. But it's a beautiful tool. And I even started using it for daily, like, so I have a high energy about me. And so if I drink coffee, just regular coffee, it's like I've done cocaine. Like I'm just like, whoa. And so I have to drink decaf, and even decaf gets me high. No shit. And in the decaf, I use it as like a biohacking drink. So all my superfoods, from apple cider vinegar to cinnamon to cacao. And so I would use that every day, almost like microdosing cacao. And I've used it in conjunction with microdosing with psilocybin and cacao together. It's been a beautiful medicine for myself. And I've seen it, how it's played out in my life. And so it's been an unfolding of just heart opening and just love.
Well, I always tell people, I'm like, the other plant medicines, the psychedelics, those are otherworldly. You're getting on a spaceship, but with cacao, you're getting in the Lamborghini.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's still on Earth, but it's a supercar. Yeah. Yeah.
And you just shift into the next octave of living. And when you combine, because cacao has CBD, it's part of the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you combine it with other CBDs, whether it's kava, whether it's cannabis, and of course, it potentiates anything it works with. So when you combine it with psilocybin, which is like a match made in heaven,
yeah,
you can take like less of the psilocybin if you drink the cacao with it, because you take, I don't know, 3 grams. Well, that's a lot.
It is a good journey on 3, depending on what strain you have too. If that's penis,
I would travel to 1 with cacao.
Yeah,
because it's going to feel like a 5-gram journey.
Which, for people listening and watching, a 5-gram journey is the entry point to what's called a hero's journey. And there's certain ways to do that. But once you get into that 5-gram level of psilocybin and beyond, and I'm not administering this as a recommendation for anyone, but once you do that of your own volition, like, you will have the journey that you're probably not ready for. It's going to be beautiful. It could be hard, but whatever it's supposed to be, whatever's going to happen, it's going to be for you. But it's a much different level to go from 1, 2, 3 grams of psilocybin to 5 and above. It's like a whole different world.
My first time on psilocybin, my friends just handed me the bag and I ate all 7 grams. And I didn't.
And you came back, or did they have to bring you back?
No, I came back. 2 days later, I came back.
2 days. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
What was that journey like? That's a great segue. What was that journey like in terms of like what you experienced? If you're okay to share, like what the any downloads, any visions, any experiences, contact, like what was that? 7 grams is pretty freaking deep.
Yeah, and they were the red and white ones, the nice ones.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like a reckoning. It was a whole come home to Jesus kind of talk, where I was in the woods with some friends, and I was like, oh, okay, when this journey is over, I'll just go home and everything's great. And I remember the sun went up, down, and I was like, oh, the journey's still going. And then the sun came up, and then went back down, and finally I was let go. And that's when I was taught again about the importance of respecting.
Yes.
Plant medicine. Yeah. I didn't think I was so disrespectful, but I totally took it recreationally, and I didn't know. It was like grams of awesomeness, and there was a lot of reorganization in my brain, and I was able to get clarity of like where I was headed in my life and what I was doing, because I was floating. Yep. I was just literally floating. I was waiting until the ship was to arrive for the next best thing. And that's not a good place to be. No, you miss out on your life that way if you wait for the thing versus being in the powerful now. And you know this, but like all we have is now. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. It's just now. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it a little bit. So with my psilocybin journeys, it's been my main plant medicine over the last, almost 4 years. And I've since taken a break, a little over a year. But I know that the medicine may call me again in the future. If it does, I'll be there to heed the call. But my psilocybin journeys have been very cosmic. I've learned a few things. I've learned a lot of things. I've experienced what was shown to me as the God frequency, which is just all these beautiful, joy, play, wisdom. I've seen the interconnectedness of all life. What psilocybin has done for me
has absolutely healed a lot of different things in my life. It's brought me much closer to nature. I was definitely now we are nature, right? And like, even from little things back in the day, growing up killing bugs, like I would never kill a bug now. Like, it's so different. Like what it does to you, it brings you back to this place. But for me, I also literally go into outer space. I've seen my soul travel the cosmos with my friend from before, Lane, that I've talked about. I've seen our souls traveling through eternity together. I get, you talked about the energy that comes from your hands, and I'm still learning this about myself, but I get energetic hands, like almost like, I feel like, and this may have been just visuals, but I was laying in my bed and I thought I saw like little electricity between my fingers. Oh. And I was like, holy shit. Like what can I do with this? Like, are these healing hands? Can I zap like little electronic shit at people? Like when I'm around people, like I started like, whatever. So I'm learning about it. But for me, plant medicine journeys are, outside of specific ones that ground you. I get very cosmic in my journeys. I get very in the cosmos, and there's a lot of insights that come. But for you, what does that mean to you? Like for people that I kind of have a similar journey most times now that I've done it. Like in the beginning, it was like healing emotional stuff, like being okay with my loneliness in the world, which, learning how to love myself, learning how to be a better parent for my kids, bringing me close to nature. Like it's done so many beautiful things, but after a while, when you start working with it, you kind of start curating these things almost as the medicine will guide you, but you can guide the journey too. Yeah. I've started going to these places in the more cosmic realm. What does that mean from you as a practitioner and as a facilitator when you start using the medicine for yourself? Like how is, I guess I kind of have a couple parts to this question. How have you learned to work with it? Do you let it just guide you where it needs to go? Have you Dr. Stranged it and like, I can friggin' manipulate and manifest things with it? Like, where have you gone with your journeys, and what does it mean if you're always in the cosmos versus somewhere else?
So, oh my gosh. Mushrooms literally has saved my life. They have been one of my great teachers. They are the reason why I now live in Mexico. And when I was at a crossroads of my life in 2020, like most of us, yeah. I went on this incredible magical mushroom journey. And I said, if I was going to do a mushroom ceremony with anyone, it was going to be with the indigenous. And then it pops up on my timeline on Instagram stories like, hey, come join us in Mexico for a magical mushroom journey with the Mazatec. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just inquire. Then I find out that the main healer, the main curandero, he was the translator from Maria Sabina.
Wow.
So, and he was doing this translation since he was like, I think 8 years old, and he's now in his 70s. So he has like more than 60 years of experience with working with this 1,000-year-old tradition. I got to be a part of it. And it changed my life. They showed us in real time how we can use the medicine to literally open up the closed neural pathways in the brain, how to open it up real time. And we're putting people in the hot seat and doing limpias, and everybody is a witness because you have to heal in community because mushrooms grow together in community. Fast forward, I moved to Mexico, and then they call me up and they're like, hey, can you come support us? So now I actually get to help this team. So I'm part of this retreat of one of the original psilocybin ceremonies, working with these elders, and it's so epic.
And is this something that's an ongoing every few months, once a year? Like how often do they do the retreat?
Yeah, about 3 times a year, 3 to 4 times a year, like New Year's, Dia de los Muertos, and usually like Memorial Day or spring. Okay. So in July. So around those times, and I can provide you that information for anyone that's
curious. Please do. Yeah.
Because it changed my entire life. It changed my entire life. I remember.
Can you speak to how it's done that, how it's changed your life?
Well, I remember in the ceremony that the mushrooms were like, okay, we see your issue. Are you ready for a change? After I got put, they were like, this and this you've been going through is not love. Are you ready to fix it? I went back, I confronted it, I fixed it. And then they're like, we're bringing you to Mexico now. And along the way, I'm literally like Mario, just eating mushrooms.
Which, by the way, have you seen the previews for the new Mario movie that's coming out?
No.
I have an 8 and 6-year-old, plus I'm a huge kid myself. And this movie, it's like there's so many metaphors, and I have to believe that the people that created Super Mario absolutely had experience with psychedelics, because they show the mushroom makes you super. They plant medicines, like the fire plant makes you powerful. Like there's so many like things about it. It's like there's no way that they didn't at least have an idea of this, if not completely fully on it making this.
Oh, they knew. Yeah. They definitely knew.
No question.
It takes you to the upper world, the underworld.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you big, makes you small, like that song. It's one makes you big and one makes you small. Anyway, so we could get lost in this. So for utilizing it as a tool, so for people that have never taken mushrooms, from my experience, and it sounds like similar to you, there's an inner knowing, and it's not even like a voice that you can discern, but there really is. Like when you say they speak to you, it's like, I can't say the voice, but I could tell that there is something speaking to me. Like I can't say it's a woman's voice or a guy's voice. It's just a voice. And there's this, what we call downloads. I was watching The Matrix last night with Lauren, and she hadn't seen it in so long. I'm like, this is such a great metaphor for what's going on in the world right now. This is exactly what's happening. And like they were tapped in too, the Wachowski brothers, now sisters. And as far as like what happens in The Matrix, for people that are listening and watching, in the beginning of the movie, if you haven't seen this, it's over 20 years old, so I'm not spoiling it. But in the beginning, when Neo gets tapped into the real world and realizes the world he was living in was fake, he now comes into this like cold, dark, desolate world that's been run over by the machines and like all these different things. And he has a leader and a guide by the name of Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne. And Lawrence takes him, because it's a great movie and the way they tell the story is beautiful. But basically, he takes him into one of the first scenes of the movie of Neo being out of the Matrix, as he learns martial arts, and he starts going in. He's like, oh, I know jujitsu. Oh, I know kung fu. And all of a sudden he wakes up from each time he has the program uploaded or now downloaded. And he's like, I know this martial art. This is exactly my experience. And I feel like many other people I've talked to, their experience with plant medicine, specifically mushrooms, is you have a download. You have a new piece of your operating system that now that you operate with in the world. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because people are like, what voice are you going to hear? Like what's going to, and so I think that's my experience. And I don't know, has your experience been similar with like gaining new information?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like an internal conversation. If someone were to say, like, what voice do you hear in your dreams? It's like we hear a voice, and it's understood. And then if you think about it, it's like they're not speaking English. Although I've had dreams in other languages, but it's like it's spoken to you in a way that you understand.
Yes.
And especially, like, for example, I've been in many ayahuasca ceremonies, and there comes a point in time where I understand every single word that's being transmitted through the ceremony, because we're listening with our heart space.
Yes.
And it's like when we have our heart space opened up, then it's like the all-knowing consciousness. Like I understand this frequency and I can translate it into a frequency that we can all understand.
Yes. Yeah, talking about ayahuasca specifically, and understanding and having a voice to the point where I didn't even. So, at one point during our journey, the Caro in Peru, he came over and started working on me individually, and he was sitting in front of me, and he was using tobacco, using flower water, and he had his condor feather, and he was doing all sorts of stuff, and it was wild. He took me from like a level 3. It was the most tame ayahuasca journey that I've ever even heard of. And it was my first and only one so far, but I've heard of ayahuasca journeys that get very brutal with purging and La Purga and all these different things. Mine was almost like just like a more intense mushroom journey, because I guess the medicine had sat for a while, so it wasn't as potent. But either way, at that point, when he came over to me and sat in front of me, it's super dark in the Maloika, this beautiful room, and I can only see his outline of his body. And in the outline, I could see, again, the cosmos. I could see galaxies and stars. And all of a sudden, he looks at me as he's working on me, and he's in this energetic space with me because he took the medicine too. And he goes, without saying anything before this, he goes, now you understand, brother. And I'm like, I fucking understand. And we didn't even talk. We just were in the same energetic space of like knowing. And it was like, I understand the beauty of all these things. Like, and I'm looking at this guy. It was wild. But all that to say, ayahuasca, psilocybin, all these other plant medicines, medicines. I want to get to combo in a second, because I know that you've been really working with that intensely, and I've had that experience a few times. When you are in these spaces as a student, right? Like you're working with these medicines, that you're learning how to maybe manifest things, heal things, remove things, call things in. What are some practices? Because you talked about the science of it, the opening up neural pathways to do any number of things. What have you learned as a practitioner when you go into these altered states of consciousness in different realms, honestly, how to be the Doctor Strange? How are you in there? Are you letting the medicine guide you? Are you like, do you have like, if I do this and move this and like, this will happen? Like, how are you playing in those spaces?
So to be 1,000% honest, it's not me.
It's the medicine.
Yeah, they literally take over you. Yep. And it's like I don't know if you've ever been hypnotized, but when you feel the streams of consciousness shifting, you feel this active changing of the channels. You hear them working and speaking through you. Yes. And that happens when, I guess, you've done a level of cleaning, level of work, a level of grounding. Yes. And then the plant teachers form what's called a contract with you.
Beautiful.
And contracts can be lifetime or they can be short term. It doesn't matter. But they come in and like, hey, what's up? We want to form a contract with you. And you're like, oh, okay. And then next thing you know, you know how to do this like epic stuff. I was like, I did that? Holy crap.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's like, for people that are kind of like, and some of my listeners are deep into this and some have never heard probably this kind of thing. And it's kind of similar to, when you're like a conduit in a sense, and you're opening yourself up to the teaching and maybe just surrendering completely. And you get this new information. It's the idea of a shaman or a medicine person, a healer. You know, the idea of a shaman is someone who leaves this normal day-to-day world, goes into an altered state of consciousness, not just through plant medicines. It can be through ecstatic dance. It can be through a temescal, sweat lodge. It can be any number. It can be chanting for hours. It can be breath work. It can be whatever. But someone who is a courageous explorer who has the best interest of themselves and their people, and they go into these altered places to be able to get information to come back to heal themselves or heal people. And I feel like that's a beautiful journey. And I think that as long as it's done with the right intention and done with love, and it's done with, a specific mentality in mind, you can really be a powerful force for yourself and for others.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the plant medicine, they are wonderful tools, but some of my two most powerful journeys, I took nothing. The first one was the inner child work in my Toltec initiation. And the second one was a gong bath where I just popped out of my body and I met these blue-bodied aliens. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's so weird. You never know. Like I was in a quantum healing journey a couple of years ago where I was laying down on the ground in a retreat that we were hosting, but I was a student in this part of it. And, nothing, no psychedelics, nothing, just laying there listening to these healing tones that the gentleman who created it, he was an engineer by trade, but he had done 20 years of ayahuasca. And so like he has one foot in this like practical science world, one foot in like the spiritual woo-woo world, so to speak. And he somehow, like you said, was shown through his journeys how to curate these healing tones that heal people in real time. And for me, in a 30-minute span, I saw all my life's trauma flash before my eyes. I got the energetic hands that I usually get on a psychedelic journey. And I sat up in lotus position. I started chanting something back from that ayahuasca journey, which I learned, which is healer, creator, powerful, healer, creator, powerful. I kept on saying this, love, light, truth, love. And I just kept on saying these things. And I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. And I've been through all these crazy life traumas to learn how to heal them and have love for them so that I could guide people on their path of doing the same. And I think that it's some of the most unforeseen experiences. Like if you go into an ayahuasca journey, you're kind of in for something. When I'm just laying there listening to the spoken word by Ram Dass and Alan Watts, but all these healing tones, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, I know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life, and I know how I'm going to do it. It's been a wild journey. And so talk about a little bit. I know I don't know how long, and maybe you can give me the scope of this, but you work with Kambo. And that's a very powerful medicine that is not, for me, I believe it to not be, it's not a psychedelic, and it has like 16 different peptides or whatever the number is. But can you talk to Kambo and how that medicine work has affected you and those that you practice with?
Kambo was one of my first advanced plant medicine journeys. Like I did Kambo before I did ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was dealing with a multitude of health issues. Because Kambo at the baseline, if you have something in your body that doesn't belong, it takes it out. It's this giant tree frog. It's the giant tree frog that lives down in the Amazon between Peru and Brazil. And I got started on the medicine. First time I did it, I was like, wow, that really helps. Second time I did it, I said, yeah, I'm good. Never again. Third time I did it, my world was revolutionized. I was just like, OMG. I had no idea that Kambo could be beautiful, could be soft, could be all of these things. If you understand the nature of the frog, frogs are excellent climbers. They know how to help you to leap forward. And so that's exactly what they do. They help you to leap forward in life. And so whether it's before or after, ayahuasca will show you what your problem is, and Kambo is going to help you take it out. Not everyone is ready to do the work. It's 1,000% work. It's not playtime.
No.
I tell people, I'm like, you're going to learn how the human body is absolutely incredible, and you can be so uncomfortable in a span of less than an hour.
So Kambo.
I mean, it basically reset my body. It reset my hormones, reset my energy. Me before Kambo, people were like, you look completely different. You're a different person now. Yep. And I was like, yeah, it changed my life. I have spent a few months of my life now living in the jungle. And one of those times was when I received my initiation, asking for permission from the spirit of Kambo to serve the medicine. Oh. And that was fun. I had to receive 17 dots.
In one sitting?
No. Over the course of 5 days. And of course,
let's talk about that, because people, I've had 21 and 3, and it was back to back 21 gateways. It was wildly intense. And could you explain to people how it's actually administered through the, and then the superficial burns, and then the administer of, and like what to expect, and like what happens during a journey?
Yeah. So when I had the pleasure of harvesting some of my own medicine, you get the frog, we're not hurting the animals.
Did you call it down, or did somebody else call it down for you?
We called it down. We learned their mating call. Can
you give us, is it to put you on the spot, or can you give us like a little example of the sound?
So sometimes they sound a little bit like they like to laugh. It's like,
it's amazing that you can do that.
And so when you hear that, like, they're communicating with us, and then we can find them with our headlamps, and then we go pick them up. They let us tie them. It doesn't hurt them. They're like very chill. They're like, okay, you can take the medicine. We scrape it gently off of their backs and legs, make sure we leave enough for them because they need to be able to protect themselves. We just take a little bit and we bring them back. We put it on a stick and it dries. And so when we administer it, some people, now every facilitator is different. Most of us, the indigenous way, we use spit because there are enzymes in our spit that actually activate the medicine. I've tried it with water and it's just not the same.
Okay.
And so we mix it up on the stick and then we make a light burn. As you can see some of my dots here, make just a quick prick, and then you just wipe away the skin. That's it. And so what that does is it gives us access to the lymphatic system, because Kambo cleans the lymphatic system. And I can't tell you how important it is to clean your lymphatic system. That's a whole discussion. So you put the medicine on top and then you sit with it. Beforehand, you drink a lot of water, because the water that you drink is what helps you, no more than like 2 liters, really.
Yes.
Because water toxicity is real. The water helps you to release the medicine. And so as it's traveling through your body, it feels like someone's taking a flashlight and going scanning for any blockages that you may have. And then Pac-Man comes along, all the stuff. And then that's when you start to purge.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, they're afraid of throwing up. Not everyone throws up. It's any kind of release. You can sneeze, you can laugh, you can have an orgasm. I had one
poop. Yeah.
Poop.
Yeah.
Like all the things. So it's different for every person that experiences the medicine and whatever your healing is. And so if you don't purge and you feel the medicine go through you, I call that a gift.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that wasn't so bad. Yay. And and then afterwards, you feel remarkably better. Like 10 minutes, you feel better. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you feel like
yes.
Yes. What just happened here? We just reset your immune system.
And for people that are listening to this, this is a tradition that's been going on for thousands of years. And I've come to believe in my own journey that, not only combo, but psychedelics, plant medicines are divine technology. I feel like they've been given to us by a God, a higher source, whatever you want to call it. And it's here to illuminate and light our path to become a better people, a better consciousness, a better loving humanity to help heal, right? The Hopi prophecy, for those people that are listening, that the Hopi prophecy says that when the world is ravaged and at her worst, a group of people from across the world, from different backgrounds, different cultures, different nations will unite to come back to heal the world. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing today. I feel like with all the shit, the darkness, the shadow that we're seeing in the world, it's in direct proportion to the light that's being emitted and the light workers that are doing the work to help us to heal it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a lot of us who are actively working in this field, a fun question is like, what happened to you in 2012?
Yeah.
I was struck by lightning.
Right? I'd have to go back and look 2012. I lost my daughter. I held her till she died when she was 7 days old in 2013. But yeah, I'd have to go back to 2012. That's interesting. Yeah.
That was a huge momentous time because that's actually when the Rainbow Bridge opened. And then you count 8 years, 2020, the Rainbow Bridge is complete because Roy G. Biv, all the colors are done.
Yep.
And the Mayans were spot on. They're like, the world ends 2012, but their calendar's 8 years different, the Gregorian calendar. So 2012 was actually 2020.
There's a lot going on with calendars that's screwed up. It's like just even like December being the 12th month, Desi in every other language means 10. Like there's so many like things that are wrong for reasons, specific reasons. But just to touch on combo, this is a very powerful medicine. I know people that have worked with combo and iboga that through guided journeys and through enough experiences have helped to heal like terminal diseases. I know a guy that had
HIV.
I know a guy that had testicular cancer who, after 30 days of crazy iboga and I think combo as well, he came back clean bill of health. His sister did the same thing. And, like you were saying, from the biology standpoint, the mechanism, the lymphatic system flush with all these different peptides, it's really cleaning out the system. And I did this I did it in Peru before an ayahuasca journey one time. I think they got through three gateways or three burns, violently throwing up, getting to that, drinking the almost 2 quarts of water. By that point, anyway, when you drink 2 quarts of water in a fairly short amount of time, that will make you feel like you want to throw up. Never mind the medicine that pushes you over the edge. But you get down to this point. And so I don't know if you can educate me on this, but I was told that if you do 3 combo journeys in a lunar cycle, that's a very powerful, potent way to heal versus if you just do one a month for 3 months. And I learned about this. So I did the one time in Peru before ayahuasca. That was a beautiful journey. And then a year or two later, I went, I took a little kind of like soul journey to Asheville, North Carolina, drove up there with my then puppy. And we were in this little trailer thing that I rented. And I had a woman come and she administered it 3 days in a row. And we went 5, 7, 8. So I had 20 gateways done in 3 days. And each day, by the third day, she was like, you did it. There was like the way, like what she saw, cause she could kind of like read the bucket and read the room. She's like, you got everything you needed to get out. Can you talk to that side of it, like more the spiritual side with like the 3 times in a month, if you've heard the lunar cycle and the different gateways of placing them on chakra points and all these different places?
Yeah. So when you do 3 times in a lunar cycle, we call it the warrior cleanse.
Okay.
It's like the hard 30-second reset on your cell phone, but for your body. And it's going to reset everything. It's going to bring you back into balance. And the second one, I always tell people the second one is the hardest one.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the third one. You're going to really, really, really appreciate it. And depending on where you're working, like I work with meridians.
Mm-hmm.
So I align my points with meridian points. And so cleaning out all these different channels. And we learn how to read the bucket. Like the stuff you throw up, like we can see if you're throwing up candida. We can see if you're throwing up stress and anxiety. And then usually by the third cycle, your stuff is pretty clear. Usually.
Is this something where obviously intention is everything in what you do in life and in these types of practices, but is this something where, like, let's say the new novice, almost lay person to this experience can just go and do a warrior cleanse 3 days in a row and have a powerful healing? Or is it more than that? Is it more than just, I don't know how to phrase this, but like, can just anyone just do it under the right set and setting with the right person and like have some sort of benefit?
Yeah, provided, they meet all the qualifications. Like if someone suffers from low chronic blood pressure, that could be a really, really bad thing because combo drops your blood pressure. So most people suffer from high blood pressure, so it really helps them. And I bring that up because you mentioned you had 21 points, and then I'll meet people and they've had 1 point from me. Yep. And they felt like they were dying. So it's not it's not about the amount of points you have.
Yeah.
It's about like how fresh your medicine is, how strong someone's what we call their tronco, which is like their spiritual root. If I know you have strong roots, like I can sock it to you. I can give you some medicine. If I know that if I see that you weigh like 100 pounds and cacao almost took you out, like I'm going to give you 1 dot.
Yeah. Well, that's you being a good practitioner and knowing your medicine and knowing your person. It's almost like having a good, like going to a doctor, right? And going to a Western doctor, and they have like a great intake process. Like they're making sure there's no contradictions. They're making sure that you don't have any opposing medicines that may, oppose against, some sort of like psychedelic versus like a depressant, an antidepressant, like all these different things that you have to look for. That's just you being a great practitioner. So for anyone who's listening that's interested in these things, obviously I go to Nina she's been a teacher, legitimate teacher in my life to some of the things that I'm working on, but like she knows what she's doing. And I've been in her practices before with cacao. So I can only imagine how the more intense quote unquote medicines are under your journey. So is there anything that's left that you want to express that we didn't cover? Anything that's on your heart, anything that you want to say or leave?
Well, your journey of medicine really depends on the person, your willingness to come to the medicine. If you're coming to the medicine, like I have done all that I can do, take me, like they're going to take you, pimp you out and turn you into a new person. But if you show up with the attitude like, oh, let's see what this can do, or I'm looking for a magic pill, you're going to have a very different experience. So your willingness of heart, that's between you and the medicine, and the medicine's going to know.
The willingness of the heart, the purity of the intention itself. Like I had the journey I went to for Peru. I had set my intention months in advance, and it became even more crystallized just before I got to Peru, and doing a dieta 2 weeks out of all the different things that dieta included, which we won't get into now. But my one intention was to spend time with my daughter that I mentioned that she passed away at 7 days old. And actually working with San Pedro, not even ayahuasca. I thought it was going to be ayahuasca that was going to do it, but San Pedro brought me 2 hours of being with my daughter, her energy, her soul, her spirit. It also brought me time with my mom and my dad who had passed years prior. And I saw my ancestors laying on the ground in this beautiful oasis of the Sacred Valley, like laying and looking up and seeing hieroglyphics in the sky, but those were ancestors for me. And so what that taught me, that one journey, number one, the intention was the most powerful thing. The medicine was the guide. But what it taught me in the end result is like the lost loved ones that I was like pining to be with again, that I didn't have enough time with. they all live in my heart. There's something about their energy and their fabric that like lives with me. And so when I moved on from that journey, I'm like, I'm always with them. They're always with me. So it was a beautiful journey.
Just on the other side.
Just on the other side. Yeah. Just past the veil.
Yeah. The most important thing that I would love to say to everyone is make sure that you're vetting your facilitators. Please, 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 please ask lots of questions. Please inquire. Please find out where they learned. Because when you get into advanced medicine practices, you need more than just spirit. It's just leading me intuitively.
Having a great teacher, having their lineage, having great, pre-work practices, set and setting, all these different things. Integration after the event is important. Oh, yeah. It's probably the biggest thing, embodying it, like, so you don't have to repeat the same lessons over and over again. It's a whole thing. And here's the thing, from my experience, I do believe there's a place for Western doctors, but man, this type of work, in my eyes, I feel like this is the best kind of healing work someone can do. All these different things we mentioned, but thank you so much for being you. Thank you for your time and connecting. And I love our journey and our story that we're co-creating together. And I'm looking forward to our next call for our next part of our conversation. And I want to be the first viewer and listener to say, I appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you heal more people and yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping into being you. It helps the rest of us.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'm Jesse T. She's Nina Simone. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Jesse T Show.
Peace.